This conference will now be recorded.
So, as we get going, we're going to dive in. We're going to have a few PowerPoints first, and then we are going to get in and show you some products. So, we appreciate everyone taking the time to join us today. We also look forward to your feedback and would really like to get more feedback from y'all. So, and actually, as I'm sitting here, I see that we've had several people just register that are still joining as we speak. So we're going to give folks a couple minutes to get online, as 4 additional people just registered for the event a few seconds ago. So also, I invite everybody to use the chat box and submit any questions along the way. We're going to carve out time at the end to answer all questions that we receive, and look for today to start a conversation that would be good for you and your organizations. For some of you, it'll be great for your customers, and we look to just further our partnership with all the folks involved today. So at this time, I want to introduce Jack Roberts and ask Jack to go ahead and start going through some of the preliminary information here.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. Okay.
You're welcome.
Just a few background slides about who we are. If you're new to the company, Technology Solutions Consultants, we are passionate individuals around data collection, electronic content management, content shared services, the new buzz term of the year by Gartner, insert here. We like to think of ourselves as really being around for a long time and having the ability and experience to partner up with pretty much any industry that's out there so we can move forward. We also offer training for administrators, end users, and tier 1 support so that people that really need help on the main go live day and the big production days, we're there for you. So to kind of dive right in, we have some segue into, have you ever heard of any of these or sound familiar? And one of the big things and the need for reconciliation is really around the need for an audit. Are we ready for an audit? We've scanned it, but we can't find it. We know that we have an SLA. Did we meet our SLA? And some people may or may not even know what an SLA is, but that's a service level agreement. That's very big to be able to say, yes, we can have proof that we met the SLA, and yes, we have proof as an audit trail that if we scan something in, it did make it to our primary repository as well as any line of business application. So it's very important to start thinking about, hey, what can we do if we get audited? Are we covered? To kind of give you a good overview of what DcRecon really is, we have our ingestion points, meaning areas where we can start capturing information. And it's not that DcRecon captures does the connect to Outlook or whatever mail server you may have. You have your own products for those, but we allow you to have the audit trail for those. So once documents come in, they get scanned in. We post that information to the Recon database along with any steps in the workflow it may go through for capture. And as it gets posted to your repository of choice, we log that as well so that we can then say the document was received in the mail or however it was entered into the system. We captured it with some kind of automated data entry system, posted it to our repository, and then if we need to, also capture posting it to our ERP or line of business solutions so that as you're going forward, we can say we have a 3-way reconciliation. So from ingestion to repository to line of business. Sometimes there's just the need to do a 2-way reconciliation, and that's from ingestion into actual repository. Both are covered throughout DcRecon. as we go through, this slide really helps kind of give you examples of and start you thinking about what happens with DcRecon when we have ingestion points. Start thinking about stuff comes in the mail, we have to scan that. Think about fax servers, email, any ingestion points you may have, from electronic uploads to digitized uploads, getting all those in, bulk or ad hoc processes. We want to capture all of that, make sure we're assigning a unique ID to every document or piece of content that comes in, so we can then track that and make sure that if we send it off to a repository, we then have that unique ID from the repository to match against the unique ID we assigned when it came in. And then it goes to the line of business. We can then verify that it's there as well to have full reporting. We really want to try to be as agnostic as possible when we go through and pull this information in. So as you go through, think about all the ways that you collect data and post data to your different repositories. That's the goal, is to capture all that information as far as being able to say, did we receive an invoice? Did we receive a mortgage document? Did we receive a claim policy? To be able to go back and find that specific document and say, yes, we did. I can see on June 13th, we did receive the document. It did get scanned in. It made it through our capture workflow where we automated the ingestion of some of the metadata. It made it into our repository, but I can see it's still waiting to be posted to our line of business application.
Yeah, one of the things I'll add on this is when we're looking at, as talking about source agnostic, there's a tremendous ROI attached to this in terms of the cost of human capital and searching for all this data and recreating data. So that's something I just wanted to point out, because when you have lots of employees, you have documents come in from multiple locations, you have multiple locations within your organization, geographically, departments, and so on, it's really hard to track it, and this is where we believe this bridges the gap nicely.
All right, thanks, Tom. Now, one thing I haven't alluded to yet is there are pre-configured reports, and you can create custom reports. We're going to give you an example of both of those here in just a little while. Speaking of reports, just to give you a summary of some of the reports that come with the system out of the box. Some of the big ones we're going to touch on today will be the original file name search. So if we're actually ingesting in documents from the network or faxes that come in via the fax server, and you need to be able to capture that original name, as it may have some part of metadata we need to store, we can take that original file name and place that into the Recon engine so that it is able to then later run a report if I need to say, did I find any documents in the system that have XYZ? And we can find that and then be able to report on that. Likewise, our crawler product and our OneNote Publisher product actually post the file names for reporting. So anything you ingest with those, we'll be able to go to Recon and report off of. We mentioned SLA reports. We'll see that today. These are huge when we're trying to make sure that we have documents scanned in and out the door in necessary time. You can do an SLA report around just the capture portion. You can do that around the capture and in the repository with the workflow, or you can have yet another SLA going all the way from capture to repository to your line of business. Each one of those could have their own SLA, but then most people need to say, I received a document by 10 a.m. I need to make sure that I have it posted and available for presentation to everyone by 5 p.m. tonight. How do you guarantee that happens? Usually when our systems are disparate and we have separate capture solutions versus separate repositories versus separate line of businesses, they don't always talk, and you need some kind of way to be able to monitor all of that. And so your SLA report will give you that ability to say, yes, I met the SLA. And then the big report that we rely on a lot is a system delta report. That allows us to say, if I scanned in 1,000 documents today, did I get all of those into my repository? And some of us don't have the luxury of having a scanning front end into our repository. If we do, we may need more advanced capture than that actually contains. So then we scan with a secondary tool that will actually do a more automated data entry and classification. So then it posts back to the repository. And then finally, we go into our line of business app. So then System Delta will tell us, we scanned in 1,000 documents today. 900 of those made it out of the advanced capture solution into our repository, and of those, through the workflow, 100 posted to our line of business. So you can track every document along the way, making sure no document gets left behind. Just to give you a quick feel of some of the different reports, we're not going to go and show all of these. We're going to see them live come up. But this is an example of a report where we went through an automated data entry system where it classified, and you can see how the system was working. It gives us an ROI on how many were these were identified by a human versus automatically. So we can then say, oh, look, for bills, for instance, according to this example, 75% were captured automatically or classified automatically, and then 1 was manual. And we can see that you can set that up for any doc type and put that into the system. Same thing for like a index summary report. So if you need to be able to say how many of these went through straight through processing, so we didn't have to touch them at all, we can then get an ROI on our advanced capture solution to make sure that it is processing everything efficiently. And the more I can process automated in an automated fashion, the less I have to have human intervention. And then finally, here's an example of the SLA report. So we can see, did our actual badges that we scanned in meet the SLA? And we can see it's broken down into 3 different categories. Meets SLA, so I'm reading from right to left. Meets SLA, so we're in time. Anything that's over 80% of SLA, but less than 99% of the time is shown. And then exceeds SLA, we can see the individual batches that are there. So if we need to work with those and assign more people to get those out the door, we can. We mentioned 2-way versus 3-way reconcile. This is important to know that you don't always have a line of business application that you're going to post to. It's simply, I need to be able to scan documents in and get them into our repository so that they can be viewed. Maybe we have these scanned in and they're viewed by our external customers. Maybe we have an SLA where we need to scan documents in, and for other departments within our organization, we need to have those presented. This 2-way reconcile allows us to make sure that anything we scan in or ingest in any way, we are able to prove that it did make it into the repository and have a 2-way match. If we talk about 3-way reconciliation, that is really when we bring in documents in, ingesting them some way, storing them to the repository, and then finally to a line of business application. For instance, if we want to make sure we go and scan 100 documents in, and all 100 need to be in the actual repository, and then we'll use a workflow to approve and then post those documents to the line of business app. As we do that, we'll actually see the system Delta report come back and show us documents are being removed off the report. And we can even have a report that shows here are the completed documents for a given date time frame. And we're going to see this example today. Just to give you a couple use case scenarios, there's a using the product currently, there's a financial industry global bank that scans in 900,000 pages a day. These are all loan documents. The documents are received in the mailroom, and the first shipment of mail comes in by 10 a.m. They all have to be prepped, scanned, any indexes that cannot be automatically captured, stored into the content repository, and the data posted through their line of business. All that has to be done by given time periods. There's a 1 o'clock, a 3 o'clock, and a 5 o'clock SLA that we have to meet. So the benefits of Recon in this scenario, we're monitoring the SLA. So we have SLA reporting to know if we need to move people off of one queue into another. And then we also have the ability to say, here's what made it in to our capture solution, to the repository, and or what did or not make it in the line of business. The particular instance we're talking about here, the line of business actually stores a link in their system to the image from the repository. So it has to do an image link at this point. And if it does not, then we can run a report inside of Recon that shows, here's what was captured. It is showing up in our repository, but is not showing up as a link inside of the line of business. This has saved them many times to help meet their SLA and also to avoid fines based on audits.
Jack, one thing I want to add here is, what's great about these use cases is I know we have a few folks online that offer these sorts of conversion services, and I think this is a separator. It's an opportunity for you to be proactive in giving your customers an SLA because you have some technology that can support that and give you a differentiator in the market.
Okay. Then we're going to switch over and talk about an insurance company that's using the product currently. They actually scan and import policy applications as they come through. And as it goes through a life cycle, we need to be able to know where that's at any time. So if the customer requests a status, we can do so. As they are filling this out online, we'll get that information and capture that either via an automated data entry solution if it's scanned in, or if it's a filled out online, that same solution actually brings that in and then posts it to our repository. It goes through an actual underwriting workflow where they can go in and post the data to the policy administration system. DcRecon is always tracking this to see how many applications received, but yet not posted into, in this case, oops, I put the product, there's OnBase in there, and then the policy administration system. DcRecon is used to also track the SLAs because they have a 48-hour business hour turnaround time for their SLAs. So if they receive an application within 48 hours, or business hours that is, they need to be able to turn that back around. Okay, so enough talk about what we can do. Let's see it in action. Just to kind of give you a quick summary of what we're going to do. We're going to actually show 3 disparate systems just so that we can be different and show how this works totally. For instance, we'll scan in with IBM DataCap. We're just going to look at an invoice solution just to be able to automate invoices, since pretty much everybody knows about invoices. It's not industry specific. We'll show you the system delta report to say, okay, we captured these documents and now where are they at in the flow. We're going to actually import them into OnBase for our ECM product, and then we're going to push them via workflow into our ERP, and finally look at the delta report again and make sure that everything fell off the list. We can also take a look at the SLA reports that are out there. The DC Complete Recon gives you an example of everything that's been in the system that has already reconciled. You can get a full list of that, and then the original file name report. Okay. We'll come back to that. Let's get over here and take a look. So just to kind of give you a once over, this is the home screen that you can go to get your reports. And keep in mind that this is a snapshot in time that we can pull these reports from. So if I wanted to go back in time, I could say, okay, on this given date, what were our actual SLAs, or what was our system looking like at that time? I'll take a look at my system delta report right now, just so I can see what happens. And currently, I can see that I have 5 invoices that are out there in my system delta report that show capture complete of today. It was registered in the ECM, but not reporting in the ERP yet. So we've got 5 of those out there to look at. And this would give us a specific batch, a document type, and a doc ID, so I can get down to specific which document it was. Just to kind of take a look at the Complete Recon report real quick, just to show you, you have start date and end date you can modify. We have the different document types we can go in and segment by, but this automatically runs, giving us a full week. And we can see that we have 35 invoices that we've captured so far. There's still, for inventory wise, there's still 10 in DataCap, and I've got 17 that's been all the way through the system and acknowledged by the ECM. So it's really showing us a good graph of what we've got. And then we can actually drill down into the next page, which will show us detail specific of that document, so I can go find it if I needed to. One of the cool things is we can print this off, but since we're in the paperless world, we don't like to print, but we do like to save these as different variants. So if I wanted to take this report and push it to any of these you see on screen, like Word, Excel,
It appears we have a cutout. Jack, if you're still there, since we can't hear you any longer. I show that you're talking.
Tom, you can hear me?
Yep, you're back.
Okay, I can hear you the whole time. So, all right. Just briefly, for those that didn't hear, we were just saying that we can get these reports and push them out. You can have them into Excel, so you can slice and dice the data if you want to, and be able to have custom reports that we'll see in just a minute. I'll show you an example of one of the custom reports right now, just so you have an example of what you could do if you wanted to with this particular system. Let's see, I want to click on the complete recon just so you can see that, show you this a little bit more specific for this. In this instance, we can see here are the documents in DataCap, since that's what we're showing today. This is a customized version of this report. As you can see, here's where they were scanned on and released. Then we have no date for our ERP or ECM acknowledgement. We have none pending that are waiting on the ERP to report back, but we have all these that were done today in the date range selected that were actually reconciled all the way through from scan to ERP and ECM. Okay, very good. So let's take a look at what we got then. I'm going to be brief on this and just show you a look at the DataCap client. It's more of, I want to show you the reconciliation, how that works. So I'm going to kind of blow through this really fast to make sure you see it. We're automating the data entry of these invoices, so we're capturing all this information. I'm just going to go through and hit submit. Everything looks good there. I like the way this looks, so I'll hit submit. We go through, we got a validation error, we got to correct the invoice date. One of the nice things about the integration we've done with DataCap as well is it's capturing all these fields. So we know what the OCR had versus what was actually done at the end. So if we had 2 keystrokes, we're capturing that. We know which field they were done on, how many of these were captured in low confidence, as you can see in red here, and the yellow background with red. So we know the ROI, where the low confidence changed, yes or no. And that's really telling us, is the system working the way it should? So I'll go through, it's just 5 total. Looks good. So all these captured nicely, you don't have to worry about it. They finished out. Dino will create an export file called a DIP file in OnBase for us. We're going to take a look at that process in just a second. We come back to our system delta report. We should be able to run that now and see that we have a total of 5 still, right? We see that there are 5 in the capture complete, 5 in ECM, but we're going to run our actual DIP process or document import process from OnBase and make sure that we have everything brought in. So come over to OnBase. I want to bring these in. Just going to do it manually for you. Obviously, we'd do this all behind the scenes. But if you see this come in, I'll show the OnBase client. I've got currently 8 in the workflow queue. If I refresh, it'll come into 13. So now I can see there's 13 inside the workflow queue to be processed. If I come back and look at DcRecon and I want to refresh this report, I can go back and now see that there are 10 available for us. So 10 of them show capture complete and the ECM is there. Now we're just missing them in the actual ERP. We've got it set up so that we can go through these different documents and hit approve. So I can approve this document. It moves on to the ERP queue as well, where it gets exported out. So if I come back one final time and run this report, we can actually see that it actually changes for us. So we can move that around and go through with it. All right. Let's do it again so we have it. There we go. And we refresh. There we go. Now we can see that there are 9 total. So that report ran, we have all that information captured, so we're logging everything that goes through and we know exactly what it is. In this case, we're storing the document ID inside of OnBase, and we're using that as our unique identifier to go through for the capture, the ECM, and the ERP. I promised I'd quickly show you, I know we're getting close to running out of time. I want to do one more report here and show you the original file name report. So anything that's brought into the system that we're actually grabbing the file name to use as part of the metadata, we can go through and say, give me a date range that I want to search on this by. I can change the operator from contains to anything you see with starts with or equals. I'm just going to search for the word ABC, hit find, and it's going to go out and search the system and says, here are the individual file names that came in. These were done in May of 23rd of 2016, and we can see that they're there, and I know what to go look for inside of my repository now because I have these individual IDs. Just a quick way to know, did a file get received, yes or no, and have that information. Okay, Tom, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Jack. That was awesome. And you know, the power of what this can be when you talk about multiple systems, all the dynamics of time-sensitive information, mission-critical data, notifying your employees, notifying your customers, notifying your vendor partners. Could be tremendous. What we gave today is a high-level view of really what you can do in bridging the gap and in capturing data on all these intermediate states. So if anyone has any questions, I don't see anything in the dialog box. I see a few folks here. Something's brewing. But if anyone has any additional questions, requests for information, or you have questions about specific systems, if you want to send, pull data from, say, your fax servers, and then it's going to go to your CRM or an ERP or other ECM systems. Those are all things. You want, and do some proof of concepts for you. But I don't see that we have any questions coming in at the moment. So,
hey Tom,
Jeff,
it's Vance. Hey Tom,
is this?
It's Vance. Yeah. Hey, real quick,
Hey,
I had
Dan.
a couple questions. How you doing? So as far as the data protection, when these documents are being inputted, where customers ask about how they protect it, how's their data protected? Can you go into that?
Sure, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
We're primarily using SQL Server on the back end, and so with the SQL Server, we can use encryption and have the data encrypted so that it's all stored at rest. It actually is encrypted. And then if we use actual SSL certificates going back and forth, the data is encrypted going back and forth from the report to the database and so on.
And then the other question I had is does this tool work with like CRM tools like ConnectWise or some other CRM tools, and how does that work?
We haven't used ConnectWise yet. We're open to looking at that. Some others like Salesforce to look at those and integrate with some of those. Right now, we have a limited set of tools that we have definitely worked with and posted out there, but we're wide open to looking at things because it's primarily either a service call or a database call that you can make from those applications, or even if you're using a workflow, you can post to both at the same time. So it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Well, we want to thank everyone for coming, and we invite you to additional questions, follow up to reconnect with myself or Jack or any of the team here at TSC, and we would love to engage with you, do proof of concepts for you or your clients, and see if we can bring this in as a solution for you. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Jack.